In with you. And today's or tonight's live topic is daily survival tip number 16. Put your mask on first. Put your mask on first. Now, this tip it comes from something that anyone who's ever ridden on an airplane has heard before, and that is when you're instructed when the flight attendants are giving their presentation before the takeoff of a plane, they instruct the passengers that if an emergency were to occur, and the oxygen masks were to fall from the top of the plane in their little housings, that the adults or the parents should, and everybody really, before you try to help someone else put their mask on, and in general help them, get their seatbelt fastened or whatever have you, you have to first put your mask on, right? So this it's a literal and a figurative thing, right? The reality is that if you were in a situation or circumstance where you were running out of oxygen, and there are other people there with you, other people you love, other people you care about, other people you care for, other people that you are responsible to. If you are in a situation, again, maybe it's a fire, and Paul Walker Hall, peace. And you have oxygen masks, you have a respirator or whatever have you, but you're the one in a position to be able to help the next person. If that's you, right? It could be you, your spouse, your two children, and there are 4 respirators. But you might be the person who's tall enough to get the respirators. You know where they're at, right? You don't go run, get the respirators, and then try to put them onto the children or your spouse before yourself, because you, first of all, have to make sure that you have the oxygen and the ability to continue to be able to do so. You don't want to pass out due to a lack of oxygen while you're in the process of trying to fit somebody else for their mask. It's important that you secure yourself first and put yourself in a position to survive the situation, and then immediately render aid to someone else. So it's not, that you have to, you're not neglecting anybody, but if you're not fit, if you're not in a good condition, peace, Q minus, thanks for tapping in. If you're not, if you're fading away, if you're suffering, if you're struggling and straining, then to try to take on the weight or try to take on the responsibility to help someone else to get out of whatever the situation and circumstances is, you are just bringing yourself closer to death's door and risking the possibility that you pass out before you're able to render aid to the other person. So when the oxygen mask falls from the little housing in the airplane, put your oxygen mask on first, make sure that you can breathe, and then immediately move to putting one on your child. Or if someone was knocked out in the process, that caused the oxygen mask to fall, and they can't do it for themselves, because for the child it's one thing, but for another adult, it's likely a situation where they're unable to do it, right? So say they were knocked out by the initial accident, you still have to put your oxygen mask on first and then put theirs on, so that you are in a position you're fit to render aid. Because trying to do something for somebody else, first of all, you're going to expend more energy than you would trying to do it for yourself. And trying to expend more energy in a situation that is already having a certain degree of stress and pulling on your vitals in that situation, right? You're only making it worse on yourself, and then again potentially to the other person. Now this again is it's literal and it's figurative. This goes on so many levels, in and out of disaster survival, preparedness and all that. How do you help someone financially if you're already struggling financially? What position am I in to loan a person $2,000 if I'm already in debt $4,000? What position am I in to, help somebody to mend a relationship with a friend when I haven't been able to mend relationships with my own friends? What position am I in to teach a person to, overcome an obstacle that I've never overcome? What position am I in to train a person to fast if I've never overcome that obstacle myself? So this transfers into all parts of life. And you have to understand that it is just that important, and probably even more important when you're talking about survival preparedness. You must put your mask on first. And that's the actual piece. We got Brother Robert Land in the building, the minister, Robert Land. Thank you for tapping in. So yeah, it transfers over to everything else. It's literal. If you're in a situation where, you know, oxygen is being sucked out of the room by a fire, because fires not only are introducing smoke and CO2 into the air, the fire is actually using the oxygen to burn, or as a fuel source. That's what's helping it to burn. So while the oxygen is being sucked out of the air, the fire is also introducing other things into the air. So it's actually, you know, the rate at which oxygen is depleted in a fire environment is exponential, right? So you have to put your mask on first, right? And then again, figuratively speaking, any situation or circumstance that you see another person suffering and trying to meet and overcome whatever obstacle, it is best that you put yourself in a position to meet and overcome that obstacle, or at least in the position to traverse it with them before you try to give them advice or do it with them. Don't go and jump on to a situation or circumstance or a problem, and then you end up becoming a burden on yourself and the other person, and now both of you are struggling even harder to try to get out of that situation or circumstance. No, you first figure it out. If you're having, like, I'm not going to take advice on marital problem from a person who's not married or who has multiple failed marriages and has not made one work yet. I'm not going to take advice on how to get in shape and how to become fit by somebody who's clearly out of shape. I'm not going to take advice on how to balance my books and get my finances in order from a person who is in financial chaos. I'm not going to get advice from a person about how to prepare a meal hold on, here we go. If I want to know how to make cookies, I'm coming to Sister Yashika. I'm going to Treats Divine. I'm not going to, the guy down the street, the girl down the street that just got the idea, and maybe they're a natural, I don't know. But, they just started out and they want to bake cookies, and it's like, okay, well, I'm trying to do this professionally. I'm going to go to someone who's already there. And matter of fact, why don't you come with me, right? You're going to go to somebody, and you should expect, well, I don't say should expect. You don't have to expect nothing from nobody, because nobody got to give you nothing. So I don't say you should expect from somebody, but you're better off looking towards somebody who's already in the position that you're trying to get to. They call that a mentor. But again, I'm going to keep this on topic. This is, for those who don't know, I got a couple people here who's never been on my lives before. I'm doing daily survival tips. This is daily survival tip number 16, and the topic is put your mask on first. And I'm trying to make the point that in survival and preparedness, and then in all of life, right? I have to stay on topic with what my niche is. You have to secure yourself first, and I'm gonna go a little bit more into that, right? You realize things are coming to a head in this world, and the world is falling apart on many levels: economically, socially, politically. The moral fiber of the individuals and the society and smaller communities are deteriorating, unraveling, as the Honorable Minister Farrakhan has so gloriously broken down. But it's unraveling right in front of our eyes. You need to make sure that you have enough food in your household to be able to sustain your family for whatever minimum amount of time you feel is necessary. I say minimum 90 days, but of course, I don't expect no one to just do 90 days in a day. If you can't do that, you work your way to it. But your goal should be a minimum 90 days, right? That should be the goal. The goal, I can't say the goal should be 1 million, but I can give you a goal for a minimum. Goal minimum should be 90 days. That's my opinion, right? So you have to make sure you get that before you start putting food in somebody else's home. You can advise them that they should go this way. You can advise them that they should do this, but don't start trying to fill someone else's coffers. Don't try to go and start, solving someone else's problem. You want to go and help somebody, change the locks on their doors and reinforce their windows and purchase all this stuff while your home is suffering. It just doesn't make sense, family. And why is a person to even trust that you know what you're doing if you're not even in that situation? Not only that, why help fortify someone else's home and yours is unfortified? And what happens if that person turns around and they're protected behind their castle, but they're able to breach your security as easy? Because not only are you, when you go to administer aid to somebody else in that way, shape, or form, you're telling them where your mind is at, because you can't apply what it is that you're doing with them without a knowledge. So they're saying to themselves, watching you work on their situation, if you know what you're doing, he knows what he's doing. This person's this. He must got these resources. They must got this resources. But he wasn't smart enough to get his stuff in order first. So I'm going to let him get my stuff in order. And then when my stuff is ordered, I'm going to move out on that individual and take from them that which they weren't wise enough to secure. You never play your cards before putting yourself, or you don't broadcast your hand, right? You set it up. You set up the play, and then you execute the play. You don't tell the other players at the table, what it is you're going to be doing. Pay attention to your surroundings, i.e. neighborhoods too. Exactly. That was Street So Divine says that. She said, that's right, self-preservation first. Exactly. So again, family, put your mask on first. When it comes to, having a plan on how to, get through any situation or circumstance, meet and overcome an obstacle, before you try to go give someone else advice, make sure it works. Make sure it works. You tell the mask falls out of the compartment on the plane, and you put it on the child's face, and there's no oxygen coming out, but now it's obstructing their ability to breathe because some system malfunctioned. And then you didn't realize that until you put your mask on afterwards, and then you realize you're not breathing, and then you got to go rush to take the mask off the child who's now being a little bit more deprived of oxygen. Hopefully something like that doesn't happen, but things malfunction. We live in a world full of luxury looking things. We live in a world full of pretty things. We live in a world full of visually appealing things that tend to fall apart very easily. I mean, like literally. There aren't many products out there that actually, are as robust or as resilient or as durable or as quality as they appear to be, because we've fallen into this world where, if it's pretty, it must be good. We want to look nice. We want to feel nice. We want something that is going to attract the eye of others. But you don't walk down the street, you walk down the street, you're just looking at your clothes, right? I don't even see my hat. I see right now in the live because I don't see my hat. I put this on because there's something on here that when someone sees me, they see that this is a representation of something that I believe in, right? Allah's servant. Kingdom 47 Caps. You can follow them. Kingdom 47 Caps on IG. Little plug for my bro. But I don't even see the hat, right? I'm not walking, looking at my clothes and my jeans and stuff as I'm walking them. I'm looking at my hands. I'm going to run into a pole or something. You put it on. Why? Because it has an attraction. There's an attraction attached to it. There's a value and that there's going to be a response in someone else's mind when they look at you. And it might not be to attract them, but at least to put out the idea that, I'm a clean, upstanding, person. I want people to know that I am an upstanding member of my community. And I might even, I say I do want to be seen, but the reason I want to be seen is because I need these young men to see a clean, sharp man who walks upright and doesn't sag his pants and speaks articulately and doesn't scratch if he doesn't itch, and that's perfectly fine. But again, the only way that they see that image is that you actually embody it. You have to meet and overcome the obstacles yourself first before you can help somebody else. That's what this live is all about today, family. Again, this is daily survival tip number 16. Put your mask on first. If you have not already, go check out some of my previous lives. This is a new series that I'm starting, but I have plenty of other lives dealing with radio communication and survival preparedness. If this is something you're interested in, if you're interested in taking steps towards, little by little or whatever pace you can, putting yourself in a position to meet and overcome the obstacles that are going to introduce themselves in your path. And what I mean, every single year, certain parts of this country, they experience earthquakes. There's certain parts of the country that experiences wildfires. There's certain part of the country that experiences hurricanes and tornadoes. Over here where I'm at, we always experience, snow. And really snow's the worst that it really gets over here in Boston and most of New England. But it's something, because what they got in Texas that was catastrophic in some ways, to us was like, dang, if it snowed like that, every time it snowed here in Boston, we'd be fine. Like, dang, I wish all our snow days were like that. But some of our snow days, if it had hit Texas, the death toll would have been a lot bigger. It would have been worse, because we're used to dealing with that kind of thing, right? But the point is, everywhere that these things happen, also, they typically tend to, grow exponentially annually. Look at California. The amount of land that burned last year, this year has already burned more than 8 times that amount, and we're not halfway through the fire season. More than 8 times the amount of the full amount that burned last year. 8 times. So it didn't double. It doubled, and then doubled, and then doubled. That's exponential growth in less than half the time. And that probably, as a matter of fact, when I did that report in an older live, which was like a couple months ago, it was 8 times in. So I'm actually repeating something that's old. So it's likely more than that now. But it's something that's growing exponentially. So there's going to be an obstacle that comes, and we have to be prepared for it. And if you're that type of person, go back and check out my older lives and some of my recorded content, and get a idea of some things you can do to affect or to put yourself in a better position to survive, make yourself or increase your survivability. Also, check me out on Facebook at Daniel KC1NCF, and also on YouTube at Daniel KC1NCF. Like, subscribe, share, comment your thoughts. Let me know what you think about the content. If you like the content, share it, and let me know. This is a time sensitive thing, right? We don't know the day nor the hour. Time waits for no man, and disaster strikes without warning. We have to, like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, we have to. Peace. We got Brother Winford in the building. Thanks for tapping in, bro. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that, okay, yeah, I'm telling you about the fall of America, but the reality is that you're still alive right now. You still have to feed yourself. You still have to live life day to day, and you have to do it righteously. So you need to have a form of employment or start a business of some sorts, right? So while I'm teaching survival and preparedness, because there is a day coming, at the same time, you got to live life. So go watch that older content and see what it is you can do throughout your day, because you can't spend all day on this unless you put yourself in a position to be able to do so. But where can you start? Can you start, either because water is number one. It should always be at the top of the list, because it's the hardest thing to get in abundance and store up in abundance unless you own a home with land. It's extremely hard to store water. And the reality is that the storing of water is not the biggest issue, because water covers 3/4 of the planet. We really appreciate how you bring awareness to survival. Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all tapping in with me, brother. We thank you for your service. Praise be to Allah. And so a quick, very important thing about water, because this should be at the top of everyone's list. It's hard to store mass amounts of water. If you have a family of 4 people and you drink and you have a gallon a day per person, right? First of all, 1 gallon of water is about 8 pounds. So you're talking about 36 pounds of water. 32 pounds of water a day. That's not light. And it's going to take up space. That's not a lot, 4 gallons of water. But if you were to do the math on it, it's going to be a lot harder to accumulate that amount of water. So it's actually more important to start prepping in regards to water by having on hand things like water purification tablets and and stuff like bleach, plain bleach that you can use to clean the water. Learn now how to distill water. Learn now how to boil water effectively to kill different types of bacteria, viruses, protozoas, and or buy a filter that is capable of filtering out all the things that contaminate the water. Because the reality is, there are lakes, there are streams, there are rivers, there are ponds, there's rain. There's all kind of ways to get water because you're not going to be able to store enough. So you actually want to start buying different things that allow you to take water that is not consumable and make it, or not potable, and make it potable, meaning able for human consumption, whether you're talking about drinking it, washing your dishes with it, cooking with it, or bathing with it, because the epidermis, the skin, absorbs water. So that's an extra for this one. But the name of this particular live is Daily Survival Tip number 16. Put your mask on first. Thank you, family, for tapping in. Please go back, check out the other content. Daniel Casey, 1NCF, tapping out. Peace.